So, welcome to the May virtual office hours with Promo Standards. We have a lot of questions submitted today. We're going to try to get through them all. I'm going to try to prioritize questions of people who are here, but we did have a few repeats. Just before we jump into it, if we skipped over a question, maybe it was kind of general, it was like a getting started, or it's something that we've answered pretty frequently, you can always go to that office hours page, scroll just past the RSVP button, and there are actually summaries of some of the topics covered and recordings of the past office hours. So if you're just checking in, where are we at with rest? Well, we give that update pretty much every month, and until there's something significant that we can push out, which we'll post about in the blog and we'll send out in our email newsletter, it's just kind of going to be, oh, we're working on it. So if you want to get the full explanation on that from standards, you can always go back to the past month or wherever it says that we discussed that and get the details on what's going on with rest, how long it'll be, where exactly it's at. So we want to really try to get to new questions every time we do these and hopefully spark conversations. So all right. I'm just going to jump in straight at the top. Of our list here, I had a lot of people asking about, and just this is something that's been asked about over the course of a couple months, and we haven't really covered it super well. Integrating with AI. So, do we have any information about integrating with stuff like ChatGPT, Claude, with promo standards, like getting those AI to be able to pull from your promo standards data? Is that something we're capable of doing?
Hi, my name is Jamie. I'm from Essent and I'm on the best practices committee. I think our company is looking into it, just things like, having a tool basically that the subscribers, that we call them trading partners, could um, use AI to get attached to all the endpoints and see things without actually having to do all the work to get the services running, stuff like that. And then also maybe have something for our clients. We're a service provider, so we have lots of clients who are on promo standards, and to have a tool that where they can see too, logging and things like that. So we're looking into it. I think those are some areas where AI can be used, but I'm sure there's lots of others as well.
Oh. So would you say the consensus is then it's something that's going to be kind of like a tool created by service providers that's going to start hopefully entering the market with time? Or because I don't think we have anything right now, and this is something you could check. Anybody who on the Promo Standard Service Provider directory has a application, Promo Standards compatible application listed, there might be some there that have AI, but again, I'm not aware. I haven't added any to that listing that include AI integrations yet. So definitely agree that may be something that's around the corner, but it's not something that promo standards ourselves are going to be pushing out as a solution. That would be something that you can set up, or that'll be something that a service provider who integrates with promo standards might be interested in launching in the future. Here's one with existing services, inventory integrations with systems like NetSuite and ShipStation. Is that another case of the promo standards compatible application? Just will vary from service provider to service provider.
So I'd be happy to chime in and answer that. Dino Bangiorno from Extendtech. So Extendtech provides built for NetSuite solutions for both distributors and suppliers. It's a pre-built integration for NetSuite. It's a suite app that plugs into your NetSuite environment. If you're a supplier looking to host endpoints, we will host those endpoints, front-ending your NetSuite account and allowing you to serve up the array of promo standard services. If you're a distributor on the consumer side, we also have the books where we source in from if you will, the phone book on promostandards.org gets you access to all the suppliers within the universe out there that you can connect to and take advantage of services. So that's on the NetSuite side.
Great, thank you so much for tuning in with that one, Ben Jordan. Um, and then ShipStation, I'm a little bit less aware of. I know I think they integrate with Shopify as well. So there are some promo standard software out there, including on the Shopify App Store, that will directly integrate your inventory into a promo standard system if you choose to use those. Again, we don't make those. That is made by an external service provider. But something like that might be able to integrate with ShipStation if that's your starting platform. But I'm not aware of integrating ShipStation outside of that. That's my only experience with it. Do we have the person here who asked that question? I believe we do. Okay, then I guess we will move down the line here. And yeah, if we have any other questions about linking your inventory or linking just integrating generally an external software with promo standards, like how you actually go about that, please feel free chime in if you have a specific example. Again, like something like NetSuite, because we do just have that as a general question on the list, which is linking existing inventory with separate integrations. So it is a topic that comes up a lot. I know we have some best practices resources for it, and if you are a member, you should be able to access those. Jamie, can you tell me where those might be in best practices regarding integrating with like an external software
Um,
for
I
inventory
mean,
or
yeah,
product data?
we have all the documentation up there for, and it's located under the, wait, let me find it.
Yeah, I'm not super up
When
on
you're logged
navigating that page,
in,
so
when you're logged into promostandards.org, it's under resources. There's a best practices area. And then under there, we have each endpoint, and it's basically looks like the documentation for the endpoints, but then it's got some best practices, what should be in each of those services. And we've also tried to do some example XML, which has been something that has been requested. And we've also tried to give some general guidance, and we're starting to get like an SAQ document that we want everybody to fill out, just so that we have, a little bit of guidance on, you know, rate limiting and what your passwords should look like and all that kind of stuff. So it's all under the best practices area under resources when you've logged in.
Mr. Banjorner, I might have another one that you could help us with answering here if you've got some experience with NetSuite. We had somebody asking about missing color and size data causing import issues into NetSuite.
Missing color and size data. Yeah, so there's what I've seen, and apologize because I'm filling in for our resident expert, Sean White, who's normally on these calls. But based on our experience there with colors and size, there are often outlier types of attributes of products that they might be shoehorned into the framework, if you will. Think of products like lip balm with flavors or candles with scents. I've seen uh, the creative use of color and size attributes in in those contexts. So that is where, as, based on my own experience working for a large distributor, your mileage may vary from supplier to supplier, and ultimately as the distributor, the consumer of that data, it is imperative upon you to raise those issues to your supplier partners, call them out on their data, and let them get things in order. Oftentimes, Extendtech serves as I don't want to say a mediator, but we are the ones, helping guide those conversations between large distributors and suppliers to ensure proper data alignment within the framework.
Yeah. And adding on to that, we did have a question. This is one we got last month as well. Just how do you handle, a supplier that has a broken implementation of promo standards? Like, how do you go about that? And, ultimately, there's only so much we can do as far as, well, what are best practices for handling an interpersonal relationship between you and your supplier? I would say that a great way that we can recommend to do that now, though, is to respectfully say, hey, have you filled out the SAQ yet? And kind of push them in that direction, which will force them to kind of look at their data more honestly. And then you can look at their response to the SAQ that they did and say, I think we might need help in this area, this area, this area. And so it kind of gives you a little bit more of a professional lens to kind of have them take another look at that data instead of just going, hey guys, your data sucks. I need you to fix this, where it's a little bit more abstract. So I think that's a much better jumping off point if you're having trouble kind of guiding them in the right direction. Definitely push them towards the SAQ. Okay, let's go down the list here. Website integrations for images and inventory API. I'm not entirely sure what they're asking there. Website integrations. Let's see. I want to see if I can pull up the full question. Do we have David with Lauder here? I don't see him on the call. That's a bummer because we're almost at everybody who was supposed to be here. So if he's watching this recording back, I'm so sorry. I do think the question's a little bit vague. It's yeah, integrating API into website for images and inventory. I believe that would just be referring to the inventory and media standards. So I'm not entirely sure how to elaborate on that. So I think I'm going to move on down the list. We have a general one here, JSON support. I believe that just would relate to, is that related to webhooks?
Yeah, that well, it's webhooks, and also as we move to the RESTful based standards, which that work is ongoing, and the product it will be the first standard that will be fully published with Open API RESTful standards for JSON support, uh, and building out from product. And like you mentioned, Alex, that we're feverishly working on that through the standards team, and just want to make sure that we're setting the basis for moving forward with using REST versus SOAP, and getting everything lined up, and getting the foundation so that when we do PPC and inventory and media and all the other services, they follow the same basic structures that are implemented with product.
Mhm. And I can give a little bit more insight as well, a little teaser. This is part of our May newsletter, which should be going out later this week. I heard from Standards that the web token authentication process for JSON has been kind of finalized, so you guys know the direction you're moving forward with that. And generally, I mean, obviously there'll be maybe some months where it's just slow progress, but if you're wanting to get updates on the status of the RESTful integrations or things again like JSON API or JSON support, definitely check in on our monthly newsletter because there will be something, there will be some sort of here's where we're at with that, here's the progress we made on that, or here's what's next. So that's a great way to check in with the standards committee on where we're at with that. Okay. Do-do. We have a few of the usual, I'm new to promo standards. I'm trying to learn how do we get started with promo standards. I will say that our YouTube channel, there's some of it is a little bit older. We need to kind of update to make it a little bit more digestible. And that's something that I've been in talks with about, or in talks about with a few of the board members and people in MMC, as well as I've talked a little bit to leaders in best practices about it. And they're currently working on and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, better, FAQ getting started section that's a little bit more streamlined. If you just know nothing about promo standards other than that you've been told you need to integrate and you need to figure out where to jump in, what do I check first? Again, those frequently asked questions. That's something that they're working on documentation for. And then I would like to have that bounce over to my area in the marketing department and make some sort of digestible video content, maybe something you can listen to or something you can watch that again will kind of run through some of those getting started questions. Currently, the best place to look is still best practices. Reading through that documentation, there are a lot of FAQs from standard to standard. Oh, here's what typically goes wrong. Here's what typically goes right. Here's where you start. So if you are a member, definitely go check out best practices. And if you're not a member, that's a good reason to become a member. All it takes is that associate entry level membership to access those resources. But you can also, if you're having trouble, ask your business partner. They encourage you to set up promo standards, or even just go into the Slack channel if you are a member and ask somebody else who's already integrated what they did. Yeah, consider reaching out to a service provider. Yeah, absolutely. We can't endorse any service providers. Obviously, a lot of them work with us, so we can't really pick favorites, but feel free, go to the service provider directory on our page, shop around, look for somebody who has the solutions that you're looking for, and be willing to set up a few meetings, talk to them about here's what I would like to achieve with promo standards. Here's my hangups. Is there anything that promo standards can do that would help us with that? And they're going to be the experts on where you can start to look to improve your business processes. So definitely, thank you, Marco. I agree. Okay, multi-vendor API. I think we covered that one. How to become a listed service provider. Okay, I need to grab the link for you because we do, and it's on our service provider page. but it's locked behind members. So if you are a member, you can use this link, which I've just dropped in the chat, to essentially put in the information about what you as a service provider can do. Again, things like if you have a Promo Standards compatible application that you create, or if you can integrate with something like Shopify, which standards you can help them implement. All of those things you can fill out in the spreadsheet. And if you are a member, we will add you to the service provider directory so people who are looking to work with a service provider can find you. But if you're not a member, well, no, you are not getting added. So please only use that link if you're a member. Normally, to access that link, you have to be a member. But that is where you can find that if you're currently a member and you just weren't sure. Okay. Which APIs? Which APIs to use for getting all products, placing product orders, checking product inventory, and related workflows? So a few, I believe. Do we want to jump into the list of standards they should take on? I believe it would just be product data, inventory, um,
Yeah, it
order
really runs
status.
the gamut. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just
start.
kind of a. I think you would need a different standard for some of those. Some of those are cover multiple bases, but yeah, you're going to need to implement a few standards to do those things. Obviously, inventory will check inventory, but I believe product data does
Yep.
that as well. So there may be some again that cover more bases. So you may not have to implement every single one as a separate standard. Definitely read the documentation on those. But yeah, we can cover all of those things with our standards. So, do we have the person who asked that? That's a little bit general. So maybe there's something specific. With iPromo, I don't see them on the call. It's always the most interesting questions that they're not on the call. It's like I just want a little bit of clarification on what you meant by that. Okay. Yeah, we had quite a few people asking about the AI integration. So if you're a service provider and you're here, take notes. That's where the attention is. People want to be able to integrate with AI. I'm going to open up the floor. If we have anybody on the call, maybe your question was something we tried to combine into another one, or you thought of it while we were discussing. If you have something specific to ask, feel free. Floor is open. Go ahead and shout it out.
Hi, Alex. My
Hey.
name is Mark Griffin. I'm with Alexander Manufacturing,
Mhm.
and we're looking to basically get on with promo standards. And I think you might have answered a question a little bit to talk to a service provider. Is that correct to kind of get going or
Yes, if your question, it was just about membership. I will say we do encourage people to become members. Again, it gives you access to the resources on our website. So if you want to be able to set up the integration yourself, and you want to be able to know how it works, you want to be able to engage with community. If you have any issues and need, troubleshooting support, gives you access to that Slack channel. So we do encourage membership, but absolutely, I mean, if it's something, again, you've been asked by a business partner to do, you can reach out to a service provider and they can do most of the setup for you. You may not need to access best practices ever if they handle that well. Obviously, we can't say who is going to do that the best and have the most airtight integration of promo standards that's going to be the best, and you won't even need a membership because they're just going to figure it all out for you. We do encourage you to become a member, but yeah, I mean, a service provider is definitely going to be the best place to figure out how promo standards can streamline your processes and where it's going to be easiest to implement. But you are going to have to let somebody in to look around at your code to figure that kind of thing out. And because
okay?
we're a volunteer group or a nonprofit, we don't really offer somebody that we can kind of send in to look around at the inside of your website and go, we think you need this, and kind of sell it to you like a product. We just don't really have the means, we don't have the staff for that. So that is something that service providers are going to do. Yeah. But I mean, if you have somebody in your IT department and they're saying, hey, I think we need this and this, and that happens to be something like automatic inventory pulling or something like pulling details of products, well, hey, then you kind of know which standards you need. And you could maybe, instead of working with a service provider, if they're competent, get a membership and do that integration yourself. So ultimately, that is up to you. But if you're not sure, then having somebody who's experienced with implementing premise standards like a service provider is going to be the best bet.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Of course. Trying to see if we have any other questions here that I might be able to elaborate on.
Hi, I'm Chris Wade. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. One of the questions I had was, we're just kind of getting started in the process. We're a distributor, and I have things set up in terms of connections. The problem I have is getting the username passwords from some of these vendors so that I can get the good, my order information and so forth. I just didn't know if people had ways they did that, um, and also talk about where we're having more problems is the order status. It seems like different vendors treat that differently, and I'm not a technical guy, but I have to be the liaison here, and so I just didn't know if the problems I'm having. We were able to hook up hit was great. PCNA, we got hooked up, but having some issues with Aerial, so it's, I don't know if people could share with me their experiences and any ideas in terms of getting those credentials. I'm just emailing people now, and some people get back great, but you got to keep pushing.
Yeah, just from my perspective, it's like you said, you got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing from different directions because, ultimately, when you're working with a supplier, they're going to want your business. Um, if you're just emailing somebody, one of the IT representatives, they may not have the same motivations, so you may need to go take a different tack for, who you contact within the organization, so that you can get the credentials. That's one of the things that we have found. It's just getting the right contact and the right individuals involved. Um, and yeah, so yeah, I feel your pain.
All right, good. So I'm not doing something too stupid. It's
Yeah,
just
you're
the way
not
it is.
alone. We have
Yeah.
been asked that before, and again, that's kind of why I had the scripted. Well, we can't police people, as part of the organization here. So there's
Right.
only so much we can do. And like you said, integrating with PCNA, integrating with HIT went great. If they are a Promo Standards member, especially if they're somebody like an adopting or an advisory member, they're going to have a really solid integration. So ultimately, if they can get the price that you need and you know that they're going to be easier to integrate with, even if it's just close, but it saves you X amount of time,
Mhm.
maybe it's worth just working with somebody is going to have a good Promo Standards integration. And if that scares a supplier of yours that you're having trouble pushing to do so, then it's kind of a win-win. Then their processes are going to be more streamlined. Maybe you get to keep them around, and in the meantime, don't have to deal with messy data. So I would say don't be afraid to use a better option being available as a kind of bargaining chip.
Yeah. Thanks.
The section of the promostandards.org website under resources for the endpoints, each one of those endpoints that they've listed, there's a little key at the end. You should be able to request credentials, but it does depend on that supplier having set up their email and
Right.
accessing that. But that's the preferred method. I know for our customers, they go through that and then they send it to us and we give people credentials. So it depends on the supplier.
Hmm. Where is that at? That's in the endpoints.
Under, yeah, in
Here,
the
I can
endpoint.
pull it up.
Okay.
We're gonna stream. Here we go. I got to make sure I share the right screen because I've got a couple of instances of our website up because I was messing with one of our pages earlier. Okay, so when you're a member, obviously I'm going to see some stuff that maybe not everybody else can see because I'm on the admin account. You'll go to endpoints right here, and then it should be this little key right here, right?
Yeah. And
So
it brings up a form, and when you click that form, it'll send to whatever the
yeah,
email
let's
address that supplier has
let's do it to
given.
somebody that I'm not afraid to mess with. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It'll be right there.
It just gives you another point of contact as well, so
Yeah.
that you can, if the contact you had isn't responding, maybe this one will.
Also, you can update your company profile if you haven't done so. I've definitely been in a few of these. I've dug around and I found some where they're kind of missing company images, or maybe they have extra people they want to add to their login. They can't access the Slack channel, but can use these pages. So definitely go in. You can, from any of your endpoints, hit View Company, and that will take you to a page that will allow you to, again, update your company image, maybe your website, add more endpoints, add more contacts, or reorder your contacts if you have somebody specific that's your technical lead you want people to reach out to. So we definitely encourage you, after the Promo Standards website, move to the WordPress side. Definitely go check, make sure your information is up to date, because it is pretty handy to have for both people who are trying to work with you and for yourself.
Yeah, Chris, I'll chime in here too. This is the best way for us to get these credential requests in. Usually it's very much more streamlined. I do get a lot from my customer service department. After bouncing between 8 different departments, they finally come to me and they go, "Do you know what this promo standards things is?" And I'm like, "Yeah, send this over to me. We'll get them set up." And usually then I'll reach out. But that could take days to get to my department here. So if you go here into promo standards into the resource area, best way to get a hold of us, hit that key, send it out. Usually you just have to send one request in and we'll give you credentials to all of that, or all of the endpoints. You don't have to do one for everyone. And I think that's something we're working on, both in the best practices. We've brought it up a few times to be able to select multiple endpoints. So you just get one email instead of having to click the key and go to every single endpoint. Usually one is enough.
Yeah.
So
What company are you with, Patrick?
Snugs USA.
Okay. Actually, I think you guys helped me. I think I got on with you. So somebody there did.
Good.
All right. Do we have anybody else that's got something they'd like to raise? I know we're a little bit short, but people are starting to filter out. It's been about 30 minutes. We started a little bit late, but I'll hover around, but just in case we don't get any more questions, thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you again to my lovely volunteers here for helping out and helping me fill in the large gaps in my technical knowledge of Promo Standards and answering these questions. And again, thank you guys who chimed in, like Mr. Bengiorno. Really appreciate it with Extendtech. If you have anything else, I'm going to be on the call. A couple of our volunteers will as well. So feel free, jump in, ask away. Maybe you're embarrassed. You want to wait for a bunch of people to leave. It happens. I typically have 1 or 2 people left in the end of the call. And they go, "Hey, Alex, I need help with this." At like 1:45, totally fine. I get it. I will be hanging around. So thank you guys so much for coming.
Got to give you props for trying to pronounce Dino's last name. I've known Dino for 13 years.
It's got to be Bengiorno, yeah, right?
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.